Oh my goodness. Greetings.
Hi, ladies.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. This is so good. I'm excited.
Yes!
Love and healing. Love and healing.
Love and healing. Yes. You have done your own love and healing work.
I am doing.
And hello, somebody!
I am doing. And
Don't you make me run up in here.
yeah, yeah, in so many ways.
So
In so
many
many
ways.
ways.
So tell me about uh tell the people about yourself and your particular experience with love and healing work along your love and healing journey.
Yeah. I have been in the nonprofit field for majority of my career. And most recently, I have sort of landed in the philanthropic world. And what I don't think a lot of people realize is that Black people, I'm not going to say people of color, I'm going to be very specific. Black
Mm-hmm.
people are a minority in that space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy to be here because I consider myself an activist first, and so um, often feel that I've been placed in these roles to be able to represent, obviously, Black people in this space, but also to be able to help others
Mm-hmm.
and be a resource to others. Um, my former role was sort of in the education space, K-12
Mm-hmm.
education space, in what I like to call my hometown, Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Hey,
Uh,
hey.
they say that I'm not from Baton Rouge because I wasn't born in women's hospital, but that's my home. And I worked for an organization that essentially educated Black and Brown
Kid.
kids. And my role was to raise money for the Southern Louisiana region.
Mm-hmm.
So what I noticed, and I'll try to fast forward, but what I noticed that right around the time that George Floyd was killed, all of a sudden there was all of this work that was sort of being done within the organization around DEI and
Mm-hmm.
this sort of buzzword. And I'm just going to say this buzzword because I felt like that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and
Fluffery.
yeah, no substance really behind it, but I felt like there was an opportunity to educate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had an opportunity to work with my colleagues on our quarterly meeting, and it was like our first in person meeting um, after, at least we thought it was after COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And so invited uh, Fatima to come and join us and to really do some, I want to say racial equity work, but I'll say racial healing work. And I had worked with my colleagues long enough to understand that there was love in their hearts for the work that they were doing and the students that they were serving. But there was also a lot of inherent bias, right? And
Mm-hmm.
not truly understanding how to serve the population of the community that they were actually serving.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in her own way, in her own fashion, we did this sort of 2 day intensive. And I probably, beside my supervisor, was the only woman, I'm sorry, Black woman that was in that room. And I was always just very thrilled to be under the supervision of Aisha because she was just, she was fucking
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal. Like
Amen.
she was just everything that anybody could ask for as a supervisor. But she and I were very different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just the diversity between she and I as Black women
Mm-hmm.
was, it was
Mm-hmm.
gaping. And
Because we're
so
not a monolith.
we're not a monolith, right? And here she is. I'm a graduate, 2-time graduate of an HBCU, maybe the
The
HBCU, right?
HBCU. Mm-hmm. It's okay to say it.
Right? So, and she's, a graduate of Yale and Duke, right? So we were not
Different
the
worlds.
same, completely different worlds. And but it in the spaces that we operated and we vacillated, it worked, right? But we both knew that what I could offer my colleagues, she could not as their supervisor. And so I took that opportunity to, and I actually reached out to you, Brandis, because I knew that you had started the conversation. I knew that love and healing work was kind of a concept, but I didn't really know exactly where it was in the stages. And invited you guys to come and to do some work.
Yes.
And so the intensive work started. There was 2 days, and we started with sort of a yoga session because I knew that I was in a space with a lot of people who, while they had seen, the on TV, because we were all forced to watch it. I mean, we were all at
Yeah.
home,
Yeah.
right? They all saw it, but it didn't affect them as much as it affected us. And it happened to George Floyd, and it happened to us,
Uh-huh.
Black people,
Uh-huh.
to the point where some of us had to take a step back and sit down and actually process what had
Uh-huh.
been witnessed. But we also knew that it was something that wasn't new, right? This is happening all the time.
You
And,
just saw it on TV.
and and here we are now, white people who are like gasping, like what just happened? And
Right.
so there was a lot of trauma, right? That needed to be addressed, the healing of it. But then also, how do we package this now so that we're more impactful as we move forward? And we're actually being able to adequately serve these kids,
Yes.
because we weren't at
Right.
first. No, I don't believe. And so again, we started with yoga. I actually took a moment away, and the feedback that I got after the session was, woo, because it wasn't just yoga. It was the grounding, of course. It was all of the things, but we kind of punched a couple people in the face, right? And
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
tough. It was the conversation was like, okay, we're gonna get into this work. But what it did was it allowed the layers to start to peel, because the next day was going to be much more intense. And so I just think that, the work was really important because it was needed. We needed to create a space that people were, one, vulnerable, and were able to be truthful and honest. That was, I think, the biggest space. And I think, Fatima, if you remember, there was a lot of crying that ended up happening in that room. There was also some folks that I think kind of felt like I think there was some stonewalling that happened. There were people who just didn't want to really say what they were really feeling. So there was a lot that was happening. I eventually transitioned from my role with that organization. But for the remainder of the time that I was there, what I was most impressed with was their ability to be honest, be able to say that we have these biases, we didn't realize these things, to be able to walk away from that as a team, fundraisers that really started to look at each other in ways that we weren't able to look at each other previously. And
Amen.
I say that because I also was able to look at some of my uh, white presenting counterparts and glean and learn from them on ways that I could do my work better,
Yeah.
and ways that I could position myself through and see the world through their lenses, and they could see the world through my lenses, and then my community of people, because I am part of that community of that we're serving. That is who I am.
That's right.
And I thought it was a very interesting exercise. And it was really the catalyst for a lot of work that they continue to do internally, in terms of the people that they hire, and trying to create a diverse
Yeah.
talent pool. But then also just the work with the students and the teachers in terms of how do we create curriculums that really align and speak to the communities that they're actually serving. So
What I'm hearing is that 2 day intensive is had a ripple effect on a whole lot of different places in this organization.
Yes, absolutely.
Voila. That is what you want.
That's
You
the
want to
work.
help create a different way of thinking
Yeah.
through
And the
the
interesting
that
thing
balances both the head and the heart.
is the head and the heart. And it was really a lot about, and what I've been listening to and what I've been hearing is this consistent theme throughout of like accountability with
Mm-hmm.
the work that love and healing work does, accountability, but accountability through like boldness, but also love. And
Yes.
that's really important because you're not going to get anywhere if people don't feel that you're coming from a place of love. It just feels abrasive, right? And
Hello,
abrasive is
somebody.
anywhere.
That's right. You're absolutely right.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I can't
So
tell you
I
nothing
was
about yourself if you don't think I love you.
right. If you think I hate you, that's what is that going to do? And
Right.
now I'm going to fear you.
Right.
And fear is okay. Like we talked about that earlier. Fear is great. You know, it to
But is a
me
barrier to
it's
connection.
if you don't know how to use it. And
Right.
most people don't know how to use fear.
Right. Right.
But when you come from certain communities, you're used to fear.
Yes.
So you know how to use it. You know how to operate within it and around it.
Mm-hmm.
You can use it as a guide.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people don't, you know, that takes a lot of work to be able to do that.
That is something that is inherent in Black communities. We know how to use fear because
We know how to
fear
use
is evident.
just like we know how
We
to use laughter.
Yes, absolutely. We use laughter to disarm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how to leverage right privilege. Let's take a little of those nuggets that we already have
Hmm.
and spread them liberally throughout our white and white presenting brethren, such that we can then be those co-conspirators,
Hmm.
affect the curriculums of these schools
Yeah.
that educate primarily Black kids. Yes.
Yeah.
And it
And
all
Fatima
starts
said
with
something
love.
earlier that I thought a lot about, and she said this notion of white privilege well, is not really a thing. It's not real, but it's actually very real.
It's it,
It's
it's
very real.
it's real because everybody buys into it.
Hmm.
It's a thing.
It's a construct that's been
It's a
created.
construct. It
And
is.
this is a really interesting thing that I found after our time with you guys, is that it's not their fault, right?
Not
Like
their
it's
fault.
not their fault. No more is it our fault because of the color of our skin. Like it's a thing that no one can really bypass. But how do we acknowledge it,
Mm-hmm.
and how do we use it to propel us
Mm-hmm.
forward? Because it's a thing.
It's a thing. Amen.
I feel like this is the moment where you say, and if you enroll in our love and how to leverage white privilege,
To learn more.
To learn more.
Enroll.
about how artificial constructs come up as real. But this is the thing: none of us consented to them.
We
I
didn't.
didn't consent to be called a
Hmm.
cisgendered Black woman. I just consent to it if I'm in a space where other people label themselves the same, and we're all experiencing that same experience as Black women. But none of us really said, "Sign me up to be a Black woman, to be all the things that a Black woman is made to be." That's
We were
not.
taught this. We were taught this since the day we were born, and it's our world.
It's by design. And so, how to leverage white privilege and some of our other experiences, we talk more about that.
Yeah. We talk about that in how to leverage right privilege. We talk about it in racial healing through storytelling. Ooh, Khadijah, you tell a good story. And racial healing through storytelling
Hmm.
is right up your alley, girl. Because what we are doing is exploring how our stories around race can help heal others. We will delve into and exist. Let's see, for example, when did you realize you were Black? And we're going to build a story about around that. We're going to talk about the art of storytelling. We're going to learn how to construct our story, and then we're going to present it. and we're going to offer our healing to others.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, baby.
You
But
can
this
find
is
that on the website on how to loveandhealingwork.com. What were you saying, Khadijah?
I don't know. I think I lost it. I was trying to hear what you were saying, and so it went in one ear and out the other. It just kind of went. Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay. It's gonna come back. But I'm excited about this work because it is. Whew, this word noble keeps coming up in my head. It is noble work.
Hmm.
We deserve this healing. Our whole world does. So
It's necessary.
it is. And I'm so grateful that you thought of me when you thought about the fact that we started these conversations and you trusted love and healing work enough in our infancy, in our gestation even, to help you navigate a real problem in your organization.
Hmm.
That's beautiful.
Really quickly, I'll say this. There was a moment where it was like a revelation for me, and the organization started in Texas and served predominantly brown kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And first out of state expansion was to Louisiana, serving predominantly Black kids.
Mm-hmm.
And when George Floyd happened, our executive director called like this really big meeting for everyone in the Southern Louisiana region to get on the call and let's just talk about what's happening. Let us grieve together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my counterparts in Texas, um, there was one particular phone call that happened while I was on that call. And anyone who knows me knows I can be a bit of a workaholic. So I'm like grieving on the call with my Southern Louisiana, predominantly Black counterparts, colleagues. And then I have a white colleague calling, and she's completely not, she's just
She
completely
has
out
no
of
clue.
she has completely out of touch that I'm on a call with like 50 Black people that are crying,
Mm.
right? And she's calling to like, I'm gonna just go ahead and use this term to check me about something. And it took everything out of me not to
So
go
yeah.
and talk more
Uh-huh.
other space with her. But
Honey.
that was the revelation for me that was a space that needed a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
Because it did, because when she took a step back and she says, Khadijah, are you okay? She didn't even realize what was happening because that's not her world. And it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't affecting her spaces in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just hugely telling to me
Mm-hmm.
the amount of work that organization that was designed to serve minority communities were out of touch with the community that they were serving.
Amen. They need love and healing work.
Thank you so much, Khadijah, for the opportunity and trusting me because you didn't know me. On
Yeah.
the strength of Brandis, and so thank you for all that you are and all that you bring into spaces. Thank you so much.
You're
Hell
welcome.
yeah.
Thank you.